this morning. Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Seabolt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a request and a motion.
Delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request that we take out of order commending Resolution H.R. 281.
The clerk will report a resolution.
Commending resolutions laid on the Speaker's table. House Resolution 281, commending the Honorable Mark Lee Keam.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Seabolt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to speak to the motion.
The delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, today I'd like to welcome the Honorable Mark Lee Keam, the former delegate from the 35th District and my predecessor, back to the House floor. I ask that he please rise. In Delegate Keam's nearly 13 years of service, he worked tirelessly for his constituents and for the Commonwealth. Delegate Keam made history as the first Korean-American and Asian-born immigrant to be elected to any state-level office in Virginia. While in office, Delegate Keam was a champion for environmental and social justice. As the co-founder of the Asian American and Pacific Islander Caucus, Delegate Keam worked to support and protect the interests of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in the Commonwealth. I want to personally thank Delegate Keam for his work in menstrual equity, specifically his work to remove the tampon tax in Virginia and to ensure that schools supply menstrual supplies for students. As my predecessor, Delegate Keam left big shoes to fill. His legislative achievements and his presence in the community have left an indelible mark on this body and on the Commonwealth. His integrity, compassion, and commitment to progress embody what we should all strive for as legislators and as citizens. Thank you, Delegate Keam, for your years of service, and welcome back to the House floor. And before I ask to adopt the resolution, I'd like to yield my time to the delegate from Falls Church, please.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Simon.
Mr. Speaker, speaking to the resolution.
Delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I know it's a little unusual to speak on somebody else's resolution, but Delegate Keam kind of left us between sessions, so we didn't get a chance to sort of fet him on his way out. And so, in addition to being my seatmate for many, many years, Delegate Keam and I shared a very large boundary in our districts. And I think actually, even before I was elected, there was a good chance he was worried to be redistricted in with my predecessor, and we'd have wound up in the same district. We shared a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of meetings, a lot of projects that we worked on together. And I wanted to share one piece of advice that I got from Delegate Keam when I first got to Richmond. And I don't know if he even remembers giving me this advice or not, but it's a piece that stuck with me. He said, we were out one night after session. He said, you know what? You're spending way too much time with Delegate Lopez and Delegate Surivel. He does remember that. And of course, he was right. But his point was, you all come down here to Richmond, and you can hang out with Delegate Lopez and Delegate Surivel up in Fairfax and Arlington anytime you want. You have all the time in the world to hang out with them. What you ought to be doing when you're down here is taking this opportunity. There's a lot of really great people here in this body that you wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to meet and spend time with and hang out with. So reach across the aisle, make friends with the folks on the other side, make friends with people from other parts of Virginia. Go ahead and get a chance to share your thoughts and learn from them as well. And that was really some of the best advice that I had as a member of the General Assembly, Mr. Speaker. And I've tried to follow it. He also told me not to talk so much, so I don't know if that bit landed. But anyway, I just wanted to take this opportunity. I hope that we will all eventually get an opportunity to vote yes on this very important resolution. Delegate Keam deserves it. And with that, I yield, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I yield to the delegate from Arlington, Delegate Lopez, who I think wants to speak to the resolution as well.
Delegate from Arlington, Delegate Lopez.
Thank you, Speaker. We would have done this if we had a chance to earlier, but I want folks to understand how incredible Mark Keam is, former Delegate Keam. He has almost an encyclopedic understanding of public policy, and he gets into the weeds on things in a way that we'd all be lucky to. And as Delegate Simon alluded to, he didn't talk a lot, but he would be able, with an eyebrow, to change votes. He would actually, and I would also say that he's also incredibly funny. The names of various poker games will not be said on the floor. The 2013 Virginia General Assembly poker game, there's the name of a specific game, will not be discussed. But I will say that his experience, his background, the fact that he was senior counsel to Dick Durbin when he was the the caucus chair for the U.S. Senate, and his breadth and depth of understanding and the kind of the fact that he was able to sort of understand from a community and a family-based perspective how the laws that we pass affect those families, affect immigrant families, affect the least of these, is something I hope we can all aspire to. And so we miss you, Delegate Keam. We miss your advice. We miss your guidance. We miss your bipartisan sensibilities. And the Commonwealth of Virginia is a much better place because of your service.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, can I yield more of my time to Delegate Tran?
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Tran.
Thank you
Anybody
so
else?
much.
How many more people are going to speak on this thing?
Mr. Speaker, thank you so much. I'd like to speak to the resolution briefly.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you. It's been noted that Delegate Mark Keam was one of the first Asian Americans to be elected to this body. And I just want to underscore how important that is for our community and for our body today. In 1996, at that 2016, at that point, we were about 397 years old, and there were only ever 3 API men elected to the General Assembly. Delegate Mark Keam was one of those, and he paved the way for all of us to be here. There's not a place you can go at a conference or in the community where somebody's like, oh, do you know Delegate Keam? I'm his friend. And he has friendships throughout Virginia and throughout the country and is recognized as somebody who has blazed trails and made sure that all of us are able to step in on our own. And so I just want to thank him for that, thank him for his mentorship and his friendship, and for making sure that the AAPI members serving today, an historic number, are able to be successful because of the example that he has set for all of us. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and welcome back, Delegate Keam.
Delegate from Culpeper, Delegate Freitas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking of the motion.
Delegate has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I'll make this brief, but I never had an opportunity to say nice things about Delegate Keam on the floor because it would have got him a primary challenger immediately. And I didn't want to hurt his re-election chances by having people in his district know that Nick Freitas really thought he was a stand-up guy. But I want to share just 2 things very quickly. One is Delegate Mark Keam always came to the legislative trail ride, which is usually held in my district and just absolutely beloved. He would come out, his family, he'd ride, he'd take pictures for everybody. And it was about what Delegate Simon talked about. It was about going out to different parts of the Commonwealth, meeting different people, meeting different legislators, getting to actually know them, their districts, their understands, their concerns. And he was always very, very well known and respected for that. The other thing for which I will always be indebted to Delegate Mark Keam for is I had a family call me up after the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And they needed help from the United States Senate in order to facilitate a family being removed from a very dangerous situation. And so they call me up, and not knowing me very well, they're like, Delegate Freitas, do you know Senator Tim Kaine or Mark Warner? And I'm like, kind of. Could you advocate on our behalf? I'm like, not sure you want me to do that. I said, look, let me see what I can do. And the first person I called was Delegate Mark Keam. And I said, Delegate Keam, I know, I think it was like a Sunday. I said, Delegate Keam, I know it's a Sunday. I hate to bother you. I got to try to help this family. I got to try to get word to either Senator Kaine or Senator Warner. Can you help? And within 30 minutes, their staff was calling me up and seeing what they could do to help this family. Because that represents who Delegate Keam was. He believed in his ideology and his party and what he wanted to achieve legislatively, and we didn't always agree on that, but when it came to doing what needed to be done to help a family in need, there was never a question. I never once ever doubted Delegate Keam's intentions, his integrity, his intelligence. His service is an honor to this body. And I am very proud to have called him a colleague, and dare I say now that he doesn't have to worry about a potential primary challenger, a friend. And I'm sincerely hoping he still shows up to the legislative trail ride, because he always shows up with cowboy boots, as God intended, but he never shows up with the proper headgear. And so I have actually purchased you the proper headgear. It's a cavalry hat, because when I needed the cavalry, Delegate Keam was there. So thank you very much.
Delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Sebo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And with that, I move the adoption of H.R. 281.
The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Sebo, moves that we adopt House Resolution number 281, commending the Honorable Mark Lee Keam. All those in favor of the adoption of the resolution will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The resolution, ayes and nays, let's put it on the board. Go to the board. Clerk will open the roll. Clerk will close the roll.
Mr. Speaker, ayes 96, no 0.
Ayes 96, no 0. The commended resolution is adopted.